Welcome to Managing Finances in the United States, Creating a Spending Plan. I'm Maria Pepitas with the University of Delaware Cooperative Extension, and today's program is brought to you by Cultivemos, which is an organization dedicated to assisting farmers and farm workers manage farm stress. Managing Finances in the United States is a series of programs that help individuals who are not familiar with the U.S. financial systems. Today's topic is about creating a spending plan so that you can better organize and manage your hard-earned money. Planning on how to spend your hard-earned dollars is important. With a bit of planning, you can allocate your dollars effectively to achieve your goals and meet your expenses. Here are some definitions for 3 important ways we spend our money. Needs are items or circumstances that are necessary and required for health, financial security, and safety. Examples would include food, clothing, housing, transportation, and some insurances like auto and health. It helps us care for our family. Wants are items or circumstances that are desired. Examples might be travel, gifts, eating out, recreation activities, or visiting home. Obligations are a responsibility. An obligation, we need to meet the terms of some sort of financial contract. If an obligation is not met, the legal system often provides recourse for the injured party. Examples include debt or credit cards, payments, car payments, or rent. Developing and following a spending plan will help you manage your money. Some expenses will be easy to know right away, and some will be an estimate of how much you spend. The more precise you can be, the better your plan will help you manage your finances. Here are some examples of the different kinds of terms we use in the United States. Fixed expenses are expenses that are consistent and recurring and usually is a necessity. It may be the same amount each month, or it might vary, right, depending on what expense it is. A flexible expense is an expense that can change from month to month. It could be the amount that changes, or it may be that the event doesn't occur each month. This type of expense may or may not be something that can be reduced or eliminated from a spending plan. Examples might include food, eating out, prescription drugs, or gas for your car. A periodic expense is something that happens only occasionally throughout the year. Examples might be an auto insurance payment or other types of insurance, haircuts or clothing, or maybe travel. Unexpected expenses are those that you really didn't plan for. Examples might be an auto repair or a medical service. In the US, we talk about spending categories, and spending categories are a group of similar expenses within a spending plan. An example might include insurances or debt or medical costs or utilities. So writing down your expenses helps you understand where your money is going and helps you take control of your expenses. Once you know where it's going, you can make deliberate decisions about where you really want it to go. It's important to set aside money ahead of time for periodic expenses so you have the money when you need it. And then you don't have to rely on credit or borrowing money from a friend to help cover that expense. The same goes with unexpected expenses. Setting aside a little money can relieve that financial stress and allows you to be prepared to handle the unexpected. So it's important to sort of think through, for each of these types of expenses, how often do the expense occur? So jotting that down and kind of writing how often, weekly, monthly, every other month, quarterly, once a year, and what the typical amount can help you really get organized. What would your spending plan look like? A copy of this monthly spending plan can be found at the Farm Aid Cultivemos farm worker website. The URL will be provided at the end of this video. But this is an example of a monthly plan that is available that you can download and use for your purposes. But let's talk through the steps of how you might use this worksheet. This worksheet is designed to help you remember all the places your money might go. So there may be categories listed here that you won't use, and it's okay to leave them blank. Ultimately, a spending plan needs to work for you. It needs to be detailed enough to help you track where your money comes from and where it goes, and also allows you to plan for those periodic expenses and saving goals. If working on a weekly or a paycheck basis works best for you, then design a tool that will help you keep track. There needs to be each of the following components so that your plan will work. So how do I start? So these are the steps that you can use to create your spending plan. First, you need to choose a plan based on the week, pay period, or monthly time frame. Again, whatever is best for you. Then you can find a tool to help you organize your spending plan. A monthly plan is provided at this website, and that's the one that we support through this course. And it's offered in both English and Spanish. So you want to document your income amounts and then also identify your expenses that are deducted or automatically taken out of your pay. And these might include things like taxes or employer benefits like health insurance or disability insurance. When you create your spending plan, you can use either the gross number, right, the big number, or the net pay, which is the piece, the amount you get in your paycheck after all the other deductions are taken out. The next thing you need to think about are your fixed flexible debt payments and obligation amounts, and thinking about, how often are they, and begin to estimate those that you're not quite sure of, and organize them sort of by expense category. So you're thinking about those flexible expenses and try to estimate the amount that you need for those things that aren't consistent from month to month. You'll also need to try and estimate things that you might be saving for or your goals. So for example, if you're planning on a trip home or a vacation with your family, you might need to estimate how much that will cost you and divide it by the number of months until that event is happening. So for example, if it's going to cost me $1,200 and it's 6 months away, then that means I need to be putting aside $200 per month to have the money so I have it when I'm ready to go on my trip. You want to also set aside and save for those items that are periodic expenses that you know that you might have. And these could include things like medications, clothing, auto repairs, auto insurance, all of those kinds of things. And so again, what you'll be doing is looking at, well, what is that thing going to cost me in however many months, and divide by the number of months so you know how much you need to be setting aside each month so you have it when you need it. Add your savings goals in there and begin to try and figure out the total cost so you can begin to build that in. And then what you're going to do is really add up all of those expenses and compare them to your income. So this is a sample spending plan, and notice that not all the lines are filled in, but you want to be sure to include all the areas where you want to spend money. So having created the spending plan, now it's time to compare your income with your expenses to be sure that your spending and savings are within your earnings. You will use this calculation to help you see if you need to make adjustments to how you spend your money. So first of all, add up all the expense categories and include it in the expense calculation of this little formula that it's on the slide. And really what you're going to be doing is subtracting, right? So you have your total income minus those deductions, minus those expenses, minus savings, minus any debt payments. And after that, you have a remaining amount. If you have more expenses than income, obviously the remaining amount will be in the negative. And you're going to need to decide which expense categories need to be reduced to prevent overspending. Or you could always try making a little bit more money to help offset the difference. If you have more income than expenses, decide how to spend or save this money. You might add additional expense categories like gifts for family, or choose to pay more towards your debt, or save for those unexpected expenses. By creating a spending plan, you control where your money goes. It can help you be more successful in accomplishing your goals, paying down debt, or feeling more confident in your money management. More resources can be found at Farm Aid, at the Farm Aid Cultivemos resource website. The URL is listed here. You can connect with your county cooperative extension office or go to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau website. They have a lot of information about banking, credit, and financial management. Today, we reviewed a lot of important words to know about managing money in the U.S. We talked about how to create a spending plan, and we shared some resources that can help you. We need to acknowledge that the funding for this project came from the Farm and Ranch Stress Assistance Network within the Northeast, coordinated by National Young Farmers Coalition, with funding coming from the National Institute of Food and Agriculture. Content for this material was developed by Maria Pepitas, Sheila Marshman, and Maria Gorgo. These materials can be shared and copied as long as they're not changed. Thank you for viewing Managing Finances in the United States, Creating a Spending Plan. For more information about this topic and others in our series, please go to the Farm Aid Cultivemos website and look for farm worker resources at the URL listed here. Thank you.